guys, assalamu alaikum, it's Jenaji. Welcome back to my channel, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we are going to be cooking, we are going to be doing a delicious simple meal. We are going to be preparing boiled and fried provision with some saltfish and tomatoes. So let's talk about this boiled and fried provision with saltfish and tomatoes. Now today I actually was in the mood for some curry chicken. I actually set my mind to cook curry chicken, dal and rice and some of the onion chow. But I opened the fridge, I saw we had like a lot of tomatoes. We have this and another bag of tomatoes, and I looked across and I saw that we had a provision lying there. So I said, you know what, we don't want anything wasting, especially during this time. So I said, why not just put together some provision with some saltfish and tomatoes. Show you guys one time how I make my version of this dish. So before we jump into the video guys, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification button if you are new to the channel. The bell notification button just simply ensures that every time I post a video, you get a notification. So you get to check out the video one time and share it with your friends and your family. So this is the ingredients that we are going to be using in today's video guys. I got my saltfish. I usually purchase the ones in the pack from the supermarket. It makes life a lot easier. We're going to be cooking this with some tomatoes, of course, some hot pepper, pimento, onion, garlic. And for the provision, I've already cut everything up. So I've got some sweet potatoes, some eddos, some cassava in here. Now usually green fig will go in here or just about any other provision that you have on hand. But remember, we are just using what we have on hand at this point in time. So whatever you have at home, or yeah, just add whatever sort of provision that you have. So with the provision, we're going to be cooking it in some butter, some garlic, onion, pimento as well. We're going to be adding some all-purpose seasoning, and that should be it for our list of ingredients. We're going to be cooking in some coconut oil too. I keep forgetting every time in my videos to mention the oil that I'm using. So I'm going to be using some coconut oil to cook the saltfish and tomatoes in. So to start things off, I'm going to put this stuff up to boil. So I'm going to put the provision in one pot to boil, and in another pot I've got some water going here as well. I'm going to be putting the saltfish. Now some people would say you don't need to add saltfish to boiling water or cook it. You know, some people, you could just put it in some boiling water and just leave it alone, not necessarily boil it on the stove, but you know, whatever works for you, go right ahead. So the saltfish now, I have a couple of videos up with saltfish, and a lot of people kept asking, well, how long do you leave the saltfish for? To be honest with you, sometimes, I'm being very honest, it takes nothing more like between 5 and 10 minutes, and then other times it takes longer. So I'm not sure if it's a type of saltfish, whatever the case is, but what I would do just to make sure that it's done is just taste it. Just break a little piece off of it and just taste it. If it's too salty, let it continue boiling, and so you can check like up to 5-10 minutes. Just give it a taste, a small taste, and see. So for the provision, now if you have the option of using frozen provision as well, you know, whichever one works for you. So I have the cassava actually that was frozen, so I'm going to be adding the sweet potatoes in first, and I'll put the eddos in as well. And when it's like almost cooked through, like halfway cooked through, then I'm going to put in the cassava into the pot. So usually, you know, just in general, when you're making up one pot of something with a lot of different items and ingredients, you just basically add the ones that will take the longest to cook first, just to avoid any sort of overcooking, and you know, you don't want anything breaking apart either. So that's going to go there for a little while. We're going to check that in a couple of minutes, and in the meantime, what I'm going to be doing is just preparing everything else for the tomatoes, because once the saltfish is finished, we're going to put together the dish, and it will not take any length of time at all. Same thing goes for the provision. It takes no time at all to whip up this meal. Now I'm just starting off with you know, cutting the tomato. Now the fun thing is story time. When my grandmother, you know, is usually making this dish, or like smoked island tomato, she would always cut her tomato in like such neat pieces. It was just one of her things. Every time she's cooking it, the tomato would be cut in super, like almost the exact same size pieces. I don't usually do it all the time, but you know. So I'm going to go with this amount of tomatoes first. when I add it to the pot, then I usually see, you know, if I need to add another one, depending on how much saltfish there is there. So I'm just going to cut the pepper. If you don't eat pepper, it's fine. Don't need to add it. Save a little piece for the provision. And the same thing goes for the pimento. I'm going to use half of this in the tomato, and then the next half I will put it in the provision. I can't eat food without onions for some reason. Onions is a must, so that's one thing that I try to always have stocked up in my kitchen. Now, if you want to add some shadow benny in it, you know, go ahead. You can probably add a little bit. Usually I don't do. Alright, so we'll set that aside. Oh, the garlic. Don't forget the garlic, guys. Important when you're cooking. Garlic must go in there. So for the provision, I chopped up some shadow benny. If you have any other fresh herbs, go right ahead, add that in. Grated some garlic, some onions. We chopped up some onions in there, hot peppers and pimentos. So this is going to go in, cook with the margarine, and then we're going to add the boiled provision, flavorful boil and fry provision we've got on our menu for today. So let's check the sweet potato. Okay, good. So it's cutting through fine. So now I'm going to put in the cassava. Alright, and let that cook just a couple minutes again. You don't want it to overcook, because when we're mixing it up with the for the frying part, you don't want it to fall apart. So the saltfish is finished here. It's cool. Once it's cool a little bit, I'm going to break this up into smaller pieces, and then we're going to cook everything. So to start cooking these saltfish and tomatoes, I'm going to be adding some oil to my pot. Once the oil is properly heated, I am going to be adding the onions and the garlic and all the other ingredients, the shadow benny, pimento, hot pepper. I'm going to stir that around, cook that for about a minute or two, just until the onions are nice and tender, until you get that nice fragrant smell from the garlic. And once that's cooked on low medium heat, you're going to add in the saltfish. Cook that, let that fry up for about a minute or 2 minutes, and once that's done, you're going to be adding in the tomatoes. Going to let this cook, cover it down, let it cook until the tomatoes are nicely melted, and that is it for our tomatoes and saltfish. If you need to add some water, just add just a little bit. Now, I see my grandmother add some tomato paste in her saltfish and tomato. So if you want to do that to get a little more red color for the tomatoes, go right ahead. But if your tomato is red enough, you know, no need to add it. It's up to you. Provisions coming along fine. So in just about a few minutes again, we'll put this together. I usually use my spoon and cut through to see, you know, how it's looking in terms of if it's almost cooked through or what. Looking good. So I'm going to leave it for just about 2-3 minutes again, and I think that should be fine there. So I just took the provisions off the stove. You can put some cold water over it to stop the cooking process, just in case you did sort of overboil it. Put in some cold water in it, stops the cooking process. So to cook the provisions, now we're going to start off. I added some margarine to the pot already. Going to let that melt. Once that's melted, going to be adding the onions and the garlic, the pepper, the shadow benny, the pimento. Add everything in there. Going to stir it up a little bit, let it cook for about 1 to 2 minutes on low heat, just until the onions are tender and you're smelling that lovely fragrance from the garlic. So once that's done, you're going to be adding in the provision. You're going to mix everything up, stir it all up, add some of the all-purpose seasoning to it. Now this MSG-free all-purpose seasoning, it has salt in it already, so you don't need to add the salt. You can taste it and add more if you need to. So you can start off just adding a little bit, then taste and add and adjust accordingly. Once you do that, I just like to add a little bit of margarine just once it's finished, and also some parsley, some freshly chopped parsley and freshly chopped shadow benny or any fresh herbs you have. I like to add it in just when it's finished. Give that a quick stir, and that is it for our boiled and fried provisions. So our saltfish and tomato is finished, and our boil and fry provision as well. Our boil and fry provision with our saltfish and tomatoes ready to eat, guys. Looking pretty good, and it smells wonderful. And that brings us to the end of this boil and fry provision with saltfish and tomato video, guys. Pretty straightforward, right? Not hard to make at all, and it's very, very, very delicious. And you know, we Caribbean people love provisions. Me personally, to be honest with you, I am not a fan of provisions really, but it's a pretty good dish to enjoy. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Of course, give it a big thumbs up. If you did like it, share it with all your friends and your family. Leave your comments down below. Let me know when it's the last time you made some boil and fry provision with some saltfish and tomato. Let me know what you might be doing differently to your way of cooking it. Comment down below and just let me know, guys. And don't forget to give the video, the recipe, a try out. Send me pictures. I love it. Totally, absolutely love it when you guys send me pictures. So of course, I've got to do some shout outs. A couple of people would have sent me their photos when they did try my recipes, and I usually post it to my Insta story. That's on Instagram, and they also upload it to my Facebook page album. So shout out goes to Janelle, who actually prepared the Chinese menu that I did. And my last video, Chinese fried chicken with some fried rice and some chow mein. But she put a little twist on it. She actually baked the chicken instead of frying it. It looks so good, and that's actually a very, very good idea. I love that twist. Much healthier way for sure. Of course, if you have the air fryer, you could use it as well. But I love how she put her own twist it and baked it instead. Like I always say, the recipes, any recipe you use is should be as a guide. So some of my recipes will have just the basic ingredients, and you guys can play around with it and change up the measurements, or add more or less, whatever the case is. But just the basic ingredients is more or less what you really should know or need to know in a recipe, unless it's something specific. But like a dish like this, for example, you can add more fresh herbs, less fresh herbs. Instead of using the margarine, cook it with oil instead. So love that she put the twist on that. Great job there. Shout out goes out to Shabana as well. So a lot of people are trying the homemade bread recipe. I've got that recipe up on my channel. I will post it down below. You guys could try that out as well, especially during this time while we're home. Bread will run out, and if you are trying to avoid running into the supermarket, try making the homemade bread. It's pretty good. So Shabana made the bread, looks excellent, and Juliana also made the bread look fantastic, and Saida as well. Now when you look at all the bread like they came out different colors, and that's just so perfect. So some people would like the lighter bread, like my video, the bread is lighter. Some people will say no, that's not how it's supposed to be, it should be darker. But guys, use the recipe. If you want to get the darker color, go right ahead and bake it. Have fun with these recipes. Have fun in the kitchen, like I always say to you guys. Just enjoy it and use your main ingredients and adjust according to your taste and your preferences. And before I just close off, I have to give a little shout out to a little 4-year-old who watches my videos. So her mommy would have messaged me and told me that her daughter loves the videos, and she's just 4 years old. So assalamu alaikum to Sumaya, and thank you so much for watching my videos. Do something in the kitchen with mommy, okay? Do something fun, make something that one of my recipes, and send it to me. So take a picture and send it to me. I'm looking forward to that, alright? So thanks so much for watching, guys. Keep sending the pictures, keep trying this stuff, and keep showing this love and the support that you guys continue to show me. Thanks a million for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.